Good evening. Besides New York and San Francisco, this area was also known for its activism in the gay rights movement.
The police officers of that day were much more brutal, were much more wanton.
I always got picked up by the cops. They harassed the hell out of me all the time.
Filmmaker Glenne McElhinney tells us more in her new documentary. San Jose commemorates World AIDS Day. An audience award-winning short from the San Francisco International LGBT Film Festival is now a feature film in theaters.
You don't want to face the facts.
No, Emma, that's not true. Look, when you...
Your daughter is turning into a damn man right in front of your eyes, and you can't even say it.
And we take a look back at 2011 on this January 2012 edition of Outlook Video.
Welcome to the January 2012 edition of Outlook Video, your nationally recognized award-winning magazine for gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender communities. I'm Roberta Gonzalez-Gregg, wishing you all a very happy New Year.
And I'm Jay Raley, hoping all your New Year's resolutions come true. Though no longer current news, the significance of her speech titled Remarks in Recognition of International Human Rights Day, delivered by Secretary of State Hillary Clinton on December 6, 2011 before the United Nations in Geneva, Switzerland, should not be underestimated.
Earlier that day, President Barack Obama issued a presidential memorandum titled International Initiatives to Advance the Human Rights of Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Persons, directing all agencies engaged abroad to ensure that U.S. diplomacy and foreign assistance promote and protect the human rights of LGBT people.
Secretary Clinton referred to the original 1948 adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and how the intervening 63 years have brought slow and irregular progress to securing the rights of women, as well as racial, religious, tribal, and ethnic minorities in our country and around the world.
Being LGBT does not make you less human. And that is why gay rights are human rights and human rights are gay rights.
In our long struggle for recognition, understanding, acceptance, and equal rights, another significant victory has been won. As the big players on the world stage do their big part, let each of us do our small part to further human rights whenever an opportunity presents itself.
The gay rights movement did not start solely in New York after Stonewall. The documentary, On These Shoulders We Stand, is an illuminating historical account of early gay life and activism in Los Angeles told by the people who lived it. Former auto mechanic turned filmmaker Glenne McElhinney is here to talk with Raymond on her documentary.
We'll bring you coverage of the December 1st, 2011 commemoration of World AIDS Day at the San Jose City Hall Rotunda, including Tom Smith interviewing Executive Director of the Bill Wilson Center, Sparky Harlan.
The San Francisco International LGBT Film Festival Audience Award-winning short of 2007 was Pariah, a film about a 17-year-old African-American teenager in Brooklyn coming to terms with her sexuality. 4 years later, with Spike Lee as executive producer, writer-director Dee Rees has expanded her story into a feature-length film, and Focus Features is distributing Pariah in theaters now. Raymond will have more details later this half hour.
Our show will close on a reflective note, looking back over last year's highlights. Stay with us as we gather our favorite segments from 2011 and share our thoughts about them here in the studio.
Let's get started with Raymond Donald Hong's interview with Glenne McElhinney, filmmaker of On These Shoulders We Stand.
Hi, I'm Bruce Valanche, and you are watching Outlook Video.
It was a constant thing of harassment in Los Angeles, California, and you had to watch the police department.
The police officers of that day were much more brutal, were much more wanton.
I always got picked up by the cops. They harassed the hell out of me all the time.
We were all one homosexual group, and we all received the same kind of disdain.
I started my activism in the late 60s. We're going to shake things up a little bit.
It's true about all civil rights. If you don't stand up for your rights, nobody will give them to you. They simply will not.
I finally found an avenue to do something about things that weren't right. I felt this is home. This is it. We need to fight.
The documentary On These Shoulders We Stand chronicles 11 elders in post-war Los Angeles, from their early years to their coming out, to their activism for the rights of all LGBT people. Contrary to the popular belief that the gay rights movement centered only in New York and San Francisco, director Glenne McElhinney's film profiles Los Angeles activists who helped change the course of LGBT history. I'm very pleased to have Glenne McElhinney in the studio with us this evening.
Thank you. Nice to be here, Raymond.
You were a former auto mechanic turned filmmaker. Tell us the path from auto mechanic to filmmaking.
It was watching the documentary Paragraph 175. That film literally changed my life. And it's about the gay men who wore the pink triangles in the Nazi concentration camps in World War II. And I found the film so moving that I decided to quit the automotive career and become an oral historian and work within the LGBT community and capture and document our history.
So why is film your favorite medium for storytelling?
It actually came from young people that I met with when I was traveling the state, talking about and being advised on this project and where I was going to go. And I remember that older historians said, don't bring a camera, you'll ruin an oral history. Oral histories are just you and a microphone and the other subject, and it's just the two of you and the microphone. And younger historians that I was meeting with were saying, bring a camera, bring a camera. It's not as relevant to us if you don't have the camera there too. And so that kind of, when I started developing the project, it became clear that to keep up with the media and everything, it was better to have a camera. But be an oral historian that uses cameras.
You've had some difficulty doing your research. Tell us about the challenge of finding your information and tell us why it was difficult.
In Los Angeles, it's very different than it is here in the San Francisco Bay Area. And in Los Angeles, I found when I first arrived there, starting to do research for the whole project overall and specific to the film, was that LGBT folks are not in the fabric of life in the greater Los Angeles area like we are here. And there's not as much respect, or they're just not given enough wherewithal for being part of the community. And so there were no archives set up hardly at all. There is the one archive, but in terms of actually doing long-term research on what was going on, there were some stumbling blocks in trying to find information around Los Angeles. Thank goodness there are two archives. The one archive, which is now affiliated with USC, and the Mazer Lesbian Archive, which is now affiliated with UCLA. Thank goodness for them, because they really help out historians like myself.
How did you pick out your subjects for this film? What was the criteria?
It was actually going around Los Angeles and speaking at different places where LGBT elders congregate, whether it was a senior breakfast or a senior program or senior bingo. I went all over Los Angeles introducing myself and making little mini presentations, usually between 3 and 5 minutes, about the project and about the film and would they want to be interested. And most of the ones that ended up in the film are ones that contacted me, and then I did pre-interviews to see what they had done and where they had contributed to LGBT history, and found a good diverse group of Angelinos that wanted to be part of the film.
Now you're taking your film on tour. Give us some more details on that.
It's very exciting. We just received funding from the Yahoo Employee Foundation here in Sunnyvale, California, to tour with the film for a year, going around all of California, and specifically aimed to high school and middle school students and in rural and underserved areas. So I'm specifically going to the far reaches of California and around the 99 corridor. I'm going to be showing the film in classrooms, school districts, churches, community centers, where LGBT youth and ally youth congregate.
The documentary is On These Shoulders We Stand, directed by Glenne McElhinney. For more information, point your web browsers to onthiseshoulders.info. Glenne, thanks very much for coming down.
All right, thank you. Pleasure.
And coming up next, commemoration of World AIDS Day at San Jose City Hall. You're watching Outlook Video.